Yes, please. You can pick any. Dr. Rachel Magola, as you all know, is a guru in the creatives and a member of parliament, and I will look forward to learning a lot from her. I'll receive Mr. Matthew Nabuiso, another panelist. You're welcome to the podium. He's a guru in films. He will be telling us about TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and the rest, so that we can be able how to use those to promote our country. I would also like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Mike Sanders. You are welcome. He's one of our panelists. Come and take your position. Mr. Mike Sanders is the Director in charge of Tourism Operations for Marasa Africa Limited. So you are welcome. We want to start our discussion. The discussion is about activities, amenities, and accommodation in line with NDP4. And these are basically enablers. We are talking about enablers of tourism, enablers of the tourism industry. How can we appreciate the need for great and good enablers to facilitate tourism? Because in tourism, we are basically selling an experience. And an experience which must be good, which must be memorable. A very good experience which must be memorable, which one must be able to talk about when they go back, or even when they're actually experiencing it, so that they can be able to attract others. So we must work hard to ensure that we have good enablers that are going to make us promote this country in terms of tourism. I have another panelist. I want to invite Mr. Richard Kawere, who is the Executive Director, who is the Principal of the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute. Mr. Kawere, you're welcome. He's going to tell us more about skilling in the tourism industry, because we need skilled labor force for us to be able to give this very nice, appealing experience that is not having any encumbrances to the person experiencing this service. You're welcome, Mr. Kapere. So we have 1 hour. I'll just go straight to the questions that I'll put to my colleagues. We have 10 minutes to speak to each question, and then we shall wrap up. And of course, maybe have some reactions from the audience. So I would like to begin with Honorable Member of Parliament, Madame Rachel Magola. The creative industry and economy has actually unanimously asked Uganda to prioritize promoting its own creatives. So from your perspective, what specific opportunities should be prioritized for Ugandan creators? What do Ugandan creatives need to do to be contract ready for these opportunities, and what immediate support would help them qualify and deliver at international standards, especially at the time when we are galvanizing the public-private partnerships and investments? How can the private sector that is running the creative economy be supported either by the private sector but also the public sector, for them to be contract ready, that they can be able to take on any contract at any time? Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to appreciate that the creative economy has been put at the forefront on one of the discussions for this meeting. I also want to thank everybody here. I know you are aware that I perform with the Afrigo Band, which has just celebrated 50 years of existence. And I believe Afrigo Band is one of the one-stop centers. When you come to Uganda, it is a tourist attraction. So it's one way to promote our culture, our music to the rest of the world. And I hope by this partnership we'll be getting guests coming, because we have discussed it and we have promoted the Afrigo Band to the world. It's one of 4 in the world. There are only 4 bands in the world that are 50 years old. So that's something, and we're looking forward to working with tourism. I'm informed that there's a countrywide tour to do the 50 years of Afrigo with the Ministry of Tourism. We thank you so much. To answer the question, the one specific opportunity to be prioritized is legislation in the face of fragmentation. It's difficult to run any industry or any economy which is fragmented. We are fragmented as a creative economy. We are fragmented policy-wise. We are fragmented in governance. We have fragmented understanding and perception of what CCIs are. The culture in which we're used to treating the creative economy as a non-economic activity. A lot of what people do who are in the creative economy do it because they can. They do not quite understand that's a big business investment. So we need to work on that. So a creative industries law provides 3 essential functions. All these issues require a law that is going to support the consolidation of the creative economy. With regards to regulatory foundation and coherence, if we do this, it will establish a unified framework that aligns disparate policy areas and enables the creation of exemptions within the present legal system. Exemptions alone are not sustainable. Without the authority to revise outdated regulations and create enabling provisions, creative industries will remain constrained by unsuitable laws. So this law ensures that the creative economy is not marginal, but recognized within the country's legal and economic order. When we look at governance and delivery of structures, the creative economy in Uganda is distributed in 6 different ministries. We are in the Ministry of Justice, Intellectual Property. We are in the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development. I think that's where tangible heritage is. And then we are in the Ministry of Tourism, where tangible heritage is. And then we are in ICT and national guidance. So, the root cause of underdeveloped creative economy is the absence of governance structures suitable to it. We need a law that empowers the establishment of a dedicated coordination entity with authority to set key performance indicators, monitor progress, and adjust course when delivery falls short. It also enables the integration of creative economy objectives into national development strategies, growth agendas, and international positioning. How do we position our artists when we do not have an entity that is dedicated to that assignment? Mechanisms such as interministerial committees, specialized focal points, and then one-stop service entities require legal authority to function effectively and provide transparent consultation between government, entrepreneurs, and professionals. So the private sector may want to do things for the creative economy. Who do they talk to? They'll probably call me and say, Rachel, we have a gig. Chairman Katongole, you book us all the time, the Rotary, and we come and perform and go away. What other secondary businesses can develop when you do not have anyone to talk to with regards to the creative economy as a whole? It takes being famous for you to be remembered, to be invited. There's talent everywhere, in Kisoro, in Busia, in Karamoja, in Gulu. Who consolidates all these available talented people all the available artisans. I was in Karamoja for a meeting. It was an agriculture committee meeting. And I kept staring at some structures behind at a desk. Eventually, the chairman asked me, saying, "Oh, Rachel, you seem to be interested in something behind me. What is that?" There were some beautiful sculptures made out of white stone, gathering dust, a Karamojong head. And I remember that every market I walk into in Kampala will have Maasai, will have Tanzanian artifacts. And I'm saying, look at this beautiful piece. When I asked who made it, the chairman was like, he's an old man, he died. But I think his children can make them. Can we get this to the table so that people are buying from our own in Karamoja? We lack somebody to coordinate that and bring it to the center. We also need long-term infrastructure and sustainability. If we have this creative economy law, it ensures durability. It lays out the framework for investment, funding instruments, business environment reforms, and capacity building measures that will allow creative industries to grow beyond individual projects and short-term programs. The industry is hijacked by a few who can get access. You will hear funding for that, and it will be given to an individual or an organization. We need a structure in government which can appropriate to those decisions made. That in this year, we're going for the arts and crafts. We need to make sure that our exports in arts and crafts is through the roof. Somebody, a coordinating center, needs to be available to the creative economy so that when tourists come, they will definitely live with our own products, and that is contribution to the GDP. So building for the future, it is essential that our law serves as both an immediate and long-term catalyst for action. In the short term, it must provide targeted exemptions that help fragile cultural and creative subsectors reach the next level of development. At the same time, it must empower the revision and amendment of any existing legislation that impedes growth, ensuring long-term sustainability. Equally important, this law must establish a governance and delivery framework that operates both transversally across ministries and policy areas and laterally throughout the ecosystem of the creative industries. So policy without law remains voluntary and fragmented, while law enforces enforceable rights, obligations, and institutional mandates. A creative industry law ensures that a country simply does not experiment with creative economy initiatives, but instead establishes the structural, legal, and governance foundations for a dynamic capable of driving diversification, employment, and cultural identity. So I hope that what we get out of this discussion is that we will organize the creative economy so that it gives its potential. We need to unlock it. And the only way it's going to support the tourism industry to its full potential is we must unlock the legal frameworks that are stifling the growth of the industry. We are ready to work together with all stakeholders so that if I walk into an airport, in Abidjan, when you walk out, the first person you see is Drogba. And already branding Ivory Coast is right there. We need to go into the people of the country, the cultures of the people, the food they eat, the clothes they wear. So when people come to Uganda, they will go to Bwindi, yes. But if they come to Maibusoga and we pull out all the stops on the food, on the dancing, I love what the permanent secretary said about development at the Nile. That is a fantastic way forward. This can happen in Tororo, this can happen in Karamoja, this can happen in Gulu, all sectors, all sections or regions of this country. We can do this. I thank you.
Can you hear me? She deserves more than that. Please, another big hand clap. You can see the passion in terms of the creatives. So you really brought this out, and I want to be sure that the rapporteurs have captured the key issues here. Lack of a suitable governance structure, especially government-rooted, very critical, to be able to promote coordination, but also an enabling policy and legal framework for the creatives. We thank you very much for the elaboration. We shall get some reactions from the audience. Another hand clap for Honorable Magola. We want to hear from our Matthew Nabuiso. Matthew Nabuiso, the CEO, Nabuiso Films. The creative sector has asked government to enable social media platforms to pay creators formally. What concrete steps should government take, in your opinion, to secure formal monetization with TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and which support systems would best help our predominantly young population to monetize their time, passion, and talent in order to create more jobs in line with the tenfold growth agenda that has been set by government by 2040. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Again, besides being the CEO of Nabuiso Films, I'm the president of the National Producers Guild of Uganda. This is the apex body that heads all film producers in the country. And we have members in central Uganda, but we also have members in the regions, like West Nile. We have the Northern Uganda Film Producers Association. We have the Western Uganda Film Producers Associations. We have Eastern, which is called Elgon. And you find that in each of these associations, we have about between 200 to 600 film producers altogether. Now, when I go into the element of monetization of content, of course, first things first, because the way we've been operating as an industry, it's like somebody who woke up and manufactured planes, and the planes are moving all over the air, but with zero regulation. So that has been a challenge on our side. So what we need first and foremost to put right with the support of government is having a film commission and a film policy. When this is in place, we are able to move in the right direction as an industry. But right now, we are doing things in a very guerrilla manner. Of course, we've managed to do that in our guerrilla manner, and we've managed to be able to actually represent this country beyond Uganda. Many of us have won very many international awards in film, in international film festivals. You'll find some of our movies on Netflix, they're on Showmax, they're on MultiChoice. Recently, I did a TV series called Sanyu, and I produced and directed 880 episodes on MultiChoice. And if you look at the statistics of MultiChoice, while Sanyu was airing, it was the second most watched show across Africa. So that shared, in terms of capacity, we have it. What we need is having a film commission, having a policy so that we do things in a more orderly manner. That is also going to be able to help us also have like co-productions with international production companies. Recently, I was trying to do, I'm trying to do a film on the Uganda matters. I've done a trailer, it's on YouTube, called Flames of Faith. And I was trying to have a chat with some film producers from Italy. And I was telling them, you as Italy are the custodians of the Catholic faith. This should be a story of interest. they said, actually, that makes a lot of sense. But we have a co-production treaty with Uganda. No, unfortunately, our hands are tied. So such things are holding us back, but then with a policy in place, a film commission in place, I think we can be able to achieve more. That shared, we also need to create a national creator registry or an e-portal where we can actually have all these members, filmmakers, on that portal, that at each one point you can actually click onto that portal and know how many film producers are in Mbarara, how many are in Jinja, how many are in Gulu. That will be very, very helpful in terms of informing who we are, where we are, and what we are able to do. And also, that said, it is important that we have a creator incubator or film hubs both in Central and in the regions. Why is this important? Is one, it gives us an opportunity to train for capacity building of all these content creators, because before we even talk to YouTube or TikTok or what, we need to make sure that we are very organized. The content that we are putting out there is actually able to represent Uganda in the right manner. So there is need for capacity building if we can have regional film hubs or content creator hubs. This is an area where we are asking for government to support us so we can be able to do this and do the right job. And when we do have these hubs, we are not actually asking to get us Hollywood filmmakers to come and teach us. Within the Producers Guild ourselves, we have people who are good. We have people who are already directing films in Nigeria, films in South Africa. By the time we are doing that, it means we have the capacity. We just need the logistics to be able to empower our fellow content creators in Uganda so that when we go out there to YouTube, what we are presenting is actually on global standard. And we also would request to have like a national fund, because again, if I want to do the Matters story and I'm going to do it with a budget of 600 million, it is not going to compete with though that is $100 million. So also when it comes to wanting to put out content that is going to talk about our Ugandan stories on a global scale, there is need to have a competitive budget. So that's why we say if we could have a national film fund, that will be able to empower us to be able to produce content that can compete globally. Then, of course, there are also some challenges like access to affordable data. That is something that we need to be able to have worked out with the telecoms, for instance, because again, if data is very expensive, we are unable to get there and present and be able to share this content. That shared, the other steps that government needs to take, one is engaging these YouTube, the TikToks, the Facebook platforms, and so we are able to have MOUs in place that are going to guide the process. For instance, there is need for them to be able to be able to recognize our creators in Uganda. We can have this done, say, through them being able to recognize our local banks. Say, if I'm a content creator and I'm sharing my bank account, maybe it is DFCU, Uganda, they can recognize that, oh, we can actually pay to this platform. If I am presenting maybe my national ID, it should be another area of recognition of a Ugandan content creator. And then we can also take advantage of the mobile money platforms. If that is put in place, it's going to help us. Today, what is happening is that content creators that need monetization have to route through other countries. I have to open a TikTok account, use a bank account from England, and maybe a telephone number from England for me to be able to get monetization. So this barrier needs to be unblocked. We can actually have this discussion as a country with these platforms, and that way we'll be able to create very many jobs for young people. One of our biggest challenges, of course, as young people is employment. And we young people who are about what, 40 million Ugandans, we are interested in this. We want to sing, we want to dance, we want to tell stories. We are interested in the creative sector. So when government supports us in this area, that way the unemployment issue is tackled. We get to be able to have money in our pockets. We are able to pay taxes, and that way we are able to contribute to the GDP. There is also another step that government would require to do is make sure there is a local account management. So these platforms can be able to create up a team of people that are dedicated to just serving Uganda in particular, not general, but serving in Uganda. That way approvals are made easier, approvals are made faster, and that way we can be able to monetize what we are doing, create jobs, pay taxes, and increase and contribute to the GDP of the country. And also, government can also go into the issue of clear guidance on how creators register as micro businesses. We can have all these 10,000, 50,000, 2 million young content creators get registered as presumptive taxpayers. That way we can be able to also increase on our tax base. Because today we have what, about 3.5 million taxpayers, and we have 40 million Ugandans who are interested in creatives. That is an area that we need to look into, and we can actually be able to contribute to this, to the GDP. I have a very lengthy presentation, but I would probably share this document with PCF. So for purposes of time, allow me to stop there, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, thank you very much. You will share the presentation with the rapporteur, but we take keen note about the key issues that you've raised in terms of regulation, where I would like to see a film commission and a film policy. Of course, co-production treaty with Uganda. Very, very good points. And I'm glad I saw the chief planner nodding vertically. That means he's agreeing with you. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Mr. Nabuiso. I want to bring on stage my neighbor, Mr. Mike Sanders, who is the director in charge of tourism for Marasa. Mr. Sanders' public-private partnership is the lever for tourism growth. The tourism industry is predominantly private sector-led, with operators and hotels already investing their own capital and marketing Uganda, while government's job is to provide the enabling environment in terms of policies, coordinated delivery, and destination marketing at scale. In your opinion, and from your perspective, what 5 policy or delivery changes would you like to see most unlock private investment and accelerate growth, putting Uganda on track for achieving the growth that we need in the next 5 years, as well as the 10-fold growth by 2040? Please recommend key performance indicators that you would want to see in order to measure success in our tourism industry. Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Musunguzi. All protocols observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and honorable guests. It's a very broad question. I'll keep it very brief, and again, we'll share the documentation and can answer specific questions. I think the Uganda's tourism sector at the moment is at a pivotal moment, facing both significant challenges and also promising opportunities. The industry contends with issues such as skill shortages, inconsistent service standards, and limited resources, all of which hinder the development of new tourism experiences. These obstacles also reveal a substantial potential for growth, however. With dedicated investments and visionary leadership, Uganda has a chance to emerge as a premier global destination. By prioritizing the innovation, building strategic partnerships, and embracing diversification, the sector can unlock horizons and foster sustainable prosperity. Key performance indicators that could track this would be, first and foremost, would be looking, as been mentioned by the PCF chairman, we'll be looking at our visitor numbers and accurate visitor numbers as to which are the high spending leisure tourists versus differentiating from foreign arrivals into our ports and into Uganda. There would be the average length of stay to track and where these guests are spending their time. Tourism revenue and its contribution to GDP would be a KPI to closely monitor both direct and indirect sources of revenue. And then having a diversification index would be a good KPI in evaluating the range of tourist offerings on offer, and that these are actually growing and not just around the traditional centers of tourism, but that these sector is actually widening its appeal. More specifically, on a detailed approach as an investor, we would look at the financial side and the business environment, and in particular to the tax environment that we find ourselves in. The current tax landscape presents both advantages and challenges for tourism businesses. On the positive side, effective tax exemptions can stimulate investment and support business growth. However, when tax policies are confusing, unpredictable, inconsistently applied, they create uncertainty and can discourage innovation, and particularly discourage new market entrants. Establishing a fair, transparent, and business-friendly environment is essential for building investor confidence and energizing the sector to achieve the goals by 2040. Small businesses, which are often the backbone of tourism, face particular difficulties accessing loans and qualifying for incentives. Even larger businesses face these issues simply due to a tax structure. Even with an current investment of $14 million over 2 years, due to the structure of the business, it's not possible to get any tax incentives on a $14 million reinvestment into tourism in Uganda. This does not encourage reinvestment and continued investment and growth of investment into the sector. While VAT exemption, for example, on accommodation and upcountry hotels is beneficial at keeping the price competitive, particularly in the domestic market. However, it doesn't take into the fact that there are investments and major investments coming in. Therefore, you have a component of unclaimed VAT. On a substantial investment on property or reinvestment on property, and then you are losing out on unclaimed VAT on investment because it doesn't differentiate, it means that on a $10 million investment, you are losing more than $1 million on unclaimed VAT expenses, $1 million which could have gone into further growing and enhancing the tourism investment and development within Uganda. Secondly, harmonization between the various ministries and organizations. Again, as an investor, there's often a disconnect between what happens at points of entry with customs officials, with URA officials, and the Ministry of Finance, and the tools they have provided to these ministries to facilitate importation criteria and for exempted goods. Even on a recent product, a recent development where 75% of all the items used in the development of the property were manufactured in Uganda or procured in Uganda, challenges and difficulties with exempted operation equipment resulted in delays which extended into 3 or 4 months. This costs you an opening of a delay, you miss the peak season, and the net result of that net loss to us is estimated at nearly $500,000 in revenue, simply because of issues faced in administration issues. So harmonization of these issues and between these departments would certainly benefit the investor. And when you see these and you follow the chat groups and you hear investors talking, these are hindrances to future investment when these challenges are made public. We have discussed already, and it's been mentioned, the excessive number of licenses and fees. Certainly as an investor, the cost of administration in trying to administer all these licenses and fees is prohibitive and puts a financial burden on the investor. Consolidating these taxes and licenses would allow for streamlining of operations and allow the entrepreneur and the businessman to focus on the business of making money rather than on compliance and administration, and then the business contributes to the tax and to the country more effectively through paying income tax rather than paying nuisance taxes along the way. Key performance indicators of this would obviously be tracking the ease of doing business score. This can be done on the global rankings and tracking systems. Certainly monitoring the number of new investors, both local and foreign, into the sector is always a good indicator of how appealing a country or a sector is to investors, particularly tracking big international brands which come with their own big marketing and sales divisions, which then play into one of the other features, which is obviously the promotion of Uganda. And then also to monitor the tax incentive uptake, measuring the proportion of eligible businesses utilizing available exemptions and incentives, and is this number growing, and is that number of the revenue number growing as well. These would be key KPIs to monitor the business and environment. Again, another key factor which has been discussed is the accessibility and infrastructure. Uganda's spectacular landscapes are often difficult to reach due to poor infrastructure and limited flight connections, and also insufficient or modern facilities when you reach the destination. These are the types of things that frustrate travelers and international travelers and dampen the experience. Imagine a Uganda where transportation is seamless, digital connectivity is reliable, quality accommodations are easily accessible, access in and out of various places is simple, no queues, everything is done online. You can imagine how that leads to an enhanced guest experience. People would walk away and talk about it, and how the positive rhetoric would positively influence the outlook of Uganda in the hospitality sector. Key performance indicators here would obviously be, we could do a road and transport quality index on the percentages of key routes and conditions and what condition they are in. Flight connectivity is a big one, which has been mentioned. Direct connections to primary source markets, currently very limited through our national carrier. If we could increase that connectivity to the major source markets and make it easier, more effective for tourists and guests to reach us from these source markets, would certainly play a big role in driving numbers. The one item that the traveler cannot buy is time, and therefore making it more efficient for the tourists to reach Uganda and enjoy the facilities in Uganda is critical to growing the numbers. Domestic air travel has been mentioned as well. Certainly a way, again, having recently just spent 11 hours on Saturday driving from Kampala down to Buhoma. I can tell you it's not the most pleasurable experience, and it's been a topic of conversation here this morning, just getting to this conference from Kampala along the roads. Accommodation capacity and quality. Growth in hotels and lodges is also always a good indicator when you're seeing increased investment actually in the physical properties and the accommodation facilities is always a good indicator of infrastructural growth. And finally, digital access, the availability of reliable internet to support the communication and the leverage of advancements to facilitate all of this, but also this sector is one that I believe will be revolutionized in the next 2 years, not even 3 years, by AI, and Uganda should not be left behind in this scenario. And to be able to compete with that, we are going to need very fast and very reliable internet connectivity on all levels. We are speaking about the creatives and all the platforms, but if you want to make use of their platforms, you need to have the connectivity. And broken connectivity is not going to, or intermittent connectivity is not going to assist us with this kind of growth or development. Destination marketing and promotion has been extensively discussed, so I'll cut that one a little short. But Uganda runs the risk of remaining an undiscovered treasure in the world of tourism and travel if we do not get the message out there quickly and efficiently through robust branding and promotion. We have very unique cultural and natural stories as a nation in Uganda, and these need to be told and shared with the world at large through imaginative branding, digital campaigns, strategic partnerships, and active participation in global events, both outside the country, but also encouraging global events within the country to bring people into Uganda to experience what we have. Key performance indicators here would be the brand awareness and a survey metrics assessing the recognition of Uganda as a tourist destination, the digital engagement that can be monitored, website traffic, social media followers, engagement rates. These are relatively simple to monitor and track online, and would be a good indicator of where we are sitting in the international marketplace. International media mentions, analysis of the coverage of the volume and the sentiment of online and international travel publications. How often are we being mentioned? Where are we being mentioned? And is it in the key source travel markets where we need to attract business from? Participation in the international events already happening quite extensively, both through private sector and international, with trade fairs and shows. And then obviously hosting of international events, as mentioned, which would encourage the MICE market as well as where Uganda stands, because the international market tends to travel to whatever is the flavor of the month. We would like Uganda to become that flavor of the month and for it to be seen as a destination for international events to be hosted here. A key factor here in Uganda, I think, one is community and conservation balance. Sustainable tourism in Uganda thrives where community interests and conservation efforts converge. When tourism revenues support communities and empower them to become stewards of their own environments, then the benefits extend across the nation and are not limited only to the facilities themselves. Policies that align human welfare with environmental protection are the ones that will achieve lasting harmony, uplift Ugandans while also safeguarding the country's natural heritage for future generations. Currently, underfunding and shortages in manpower and equipment have led to deterioration of infrastructure and threats to wildlife populations across the country. We need to reduce the reliance on unpredictable foreign funding and invest in the local capacity is critical to protect these natural resources ourselves, and developing sustainable tourist models that will ensure direct community participation and benefits both within and outside of our national parks will protect these key vital natural assets. The KPIs would be community revenue sharing, what percentage of tourism earnings are being invested in local communities, conservation fundings to be monitored, levels of investment in conservation and visitor satisfaction index in scores compared to other tourism destinations. Community involvement, are the number of community-led tourism initiatives growing or are they static, would be a key KPI. And visitor impact scores, assessments of the tourism's environmental, social and satisfaction impacts by the end users. Lastly, the employee skill gap is a problem for growth within the hospitality sector. The tourism experience depends very largely upon a skilled and passionate workforce. The sector does face significant gap in employee training and practical learning opportunities, which limits service excellence and competitiveness. Addressing this gap requires substantial investment in education, the establishment of advanced training centers, strong industry partnerships, and support for continuous professional development, particularly of the existing facilities, to provide an improved labor force. If we equip the employees with the necessary skills and knowledge, Uganda can easily elevate service standards and enhance its global reputation as a service provider. KPIs for this sector would be training participation rates, the percentage of tourism employees enrolled in relevant training or education programs, certification levels, number of employees who are earning industry recognized qualifications each year. Obviously those qualifications need to be of a certain standard. Employee satisfaction and staff retention rates and results of employee satisfaction surveys would also be a good indicator, and service quality ratings from the end users who are actually using the facilities. These insights that I share with you are very much grounded in the shall I say, the safari industry, and that we are actively involved in, and where my background lies in for many years. And while these areas are crucial, other complementary avenues, such as the international meetings, incentives, conferences, exhibitions, business and domestic leisure markets are also very, very key and cannot be ignored, but they fall outside the purview of the question that was put to me. It is vital that the strategy for the sector integrate the opportunities in a cohesive manner and ensure the sustainable and inclusive growth. I think it's important sometimes not to forget the history of Uganda. Uganda has had a rich history in tourism. It was a regional airline and traffic hub and airline hub back in the 1930s already, with the when we had the airboats flying in and
If
landing at present day Zero.
If you can summarize, please.
Sure, I'm just summing it up.
Thank you.
And in the 1960s, we had an abundance of wildlife. Uganda was a premier wildlife destination in Africa and was an international hub again when jet aircraft and long-haul aircraft became available. So Uganda's been there before. We've lost our positioning in the global market during more recent turbulent times, but there is no reason why we can't get back and reclaim that. In business, we talk about the operational cycle, and that relates to the speed in which we can get things done. And in short, that is something that, as all industries and sectors in Uganda where we can improve, is the operational cycle, which would make us all more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause. He has elaborated the KPIs very well. Another round of applause, please, for Mike. Thank you. One of the last points you ended at was about the skills, and I want to bring in the skills man, Mr. Richard Kawere. Uganda's tourism industry is predominantly customer-facing and actually requires strong hospitality and practical customer service skills. How will the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute turn theory into job-ready skills? And what concrete competency-based programs will you roll out to produce graduates proficient in housekeeping, guiding and safety, digital tools, customer care, and MICE within the next 12 to 24 months? Because these are some of the areas which Mike spoke to. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Dr. James, moderator. Good morning, members, and all protocols observed. Our PS, Minister of Tourism. From Dr. James's question, I would want to first bring up to speed the audience on the transformation that the school or the country has seen or is yet to see in terms of skills development. Like I said, my name is Richard Kawere. I come from the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training School or Institute, yet to be a college in a short time. As a result of some legislation change, we have been transformed into a college. Skills development in tourism and hospitality in this country has been going through some bit of reformation. If you fall back 10 years ago, yes, there was some bit of tourism training, especially at universities and some colleges, but a critical focus where we have a center of excellency to be able to focus on hands-on skill to produce this kind of quality person, quality profession that the industry needs has just been in the last 10 years. And with investment from government, the college has been transformed 336 degrees from infrastructure to human resources, and now we are talking about introduction programs. When you come to a destination, what you walk away with is the experience that you have gained. Even when you've traveled in the best car, But if you get served or you don't get served by a professional person, if you don't, the people who attend to you don't give you the satisfaction that you're welcome, this is the best place, you sleep in a good room, have a good meal, you'll walk away with a bad experience. So the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute stands at a pivotal role to power the human resources in this industry, to produce the professional preferred quality graduates, to be able to support our entrepreneurs in getting a good return on their investment in terms of productivity from the human resources. Coming off from that, in our programs to support the tenfold strategy, we have about 8 programs that we have at the Institute. Some of these are traditional programs. 6 diplomas, hotel operations, culinary, which focuses on production, culinary arts. Then we have the tourism that focuses on guiding. Then we have one that focuses on pastry and bakery, mainly in that focus. We have similar certificate programs in that same area. But in terms of the emerging trends, MICE, digital transformations, we are, just yesterday, we are in a discussion with our colleagues in Tanzania and Kenya to introduce programs in the MICE sector that focuses on training a person who will be able to support this kind of event. Do you have people who understand sound? Do you have people who understand lighting? Do you have people who can be able to put up this kind of event? To answer your question, we are in the discussion with the private sector to find out which are those critical skills that support this kind of business so that we can be able to mainstream them and have them trained. For us to be able to achieve this, we have partnered with a number of institutions. In the past 2 years, we've signed an MOU with Boma Hospitality College in Kenya, one of the leading colleges in Kenya. I know most of my senior colleagues, when you talk about Kenya, they know Utalii College. But I want to tell you that the way you see that you had previously when you spoke about when you're growing and they tell you go and pick fuel, you'd say I'm going to Shell, whether you're going to Total or you're going to Starbucks, you'd say I'm going to Shell. But I think you've seen emerging trends that have come up, and now people can talk of a Total, they can talk of a Shell. So even in Kenya, even in the tourism industry, there are emerging brands, training institutions that I would want to bring to your attention. One of the best colleges in Kenya now is called Boma Hospitality College. Well, could be the price is slightly above an average Ugandan because the cost of training at Boma Hospitality College is $10,000 per year. I don't know how many Ugandans can be able to afford that. But we are partnering with this institution to try and bring some of the skill, the training expertise to our institution, and be able to perform some exchange programs with them because they have a direct connection with the Switzerland schools to see how we can tap into that professional training at our school. Why do we want to tap into this? We want our young people to be trained by the best people. Because if you want to have the best human resources, you must have the best trainers. So if we are to tap into these best trainers, we have to cooperate with these people. We have also tapped into the American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute. You can be able to Google it. It's it's a program, or it's an institute that largely satisfies trainers and also does trainings in customer care, customer excellency, and many other range of programs, supervisory management in this industry. This is also meant to strengthen our training to answer some questions. How do we leverage digital training? How do we leverage experts to come and train our students? We have partnered with the National Tourism College of Tanzania. They have been around for some time, and largely they are very strong in the tourism aspect. They are very strong on the marine aspect, being very close to the sea, and we're also trying to bring these skills to the school to come and train our students so that they're industry ready. That's the most important. But to do this, we can't do it alone. The entrepreneurs in this industry, the proprietors of hotels, the proprietors of restaurants, the proprietors of bars, coffee shops, we need to sit on the same table. And so that when we roll out these students, what opportunity do you give them to be able to upskill even when they have come from our institution? Are you giving them an opportunity to learn? Are you giving them an opportunity to do the professional work they have been trained to do? So we need a very big discussion around this area, because that is the only way we are going to grow our human resources. At the school, we train. We give them the skills. The industry must give them an opportunity to practice the skill. What I know with the entrepreneurs is one of the things they question is, whenever I get a call from people, he will tell you, I want a chef, a ready chef. Now, for me, for a person to graduate to a level of a chef, you need the minimum of about 5 years of experience. Now, when you ask the question, do you want a chef or you want a cook? I want a chef. So you send over a chef, 5-6 years experience. When he reaches there, he finds the person who required a simple cook with 2-3 years experience, who he can pay in the range of the affordable price. So one of the other things that we need to do is, with our entrepreneurs, is to bring them up to speed, to understand the profession in this industry, that there are progressions. There's a cook, there's a chef, there's an executive chef, and all of this, when you just call and say, I want a chef, and we send you a person with high expectations, and then you give him a simple work, you bring down his expectations, and then sometimes we have these challenges. Onto that, one of the other key rollouts we have done in the past 2 years is to take all staff at the institute through refresher trainings. We have taken all our staff through refresher trainings to bring them up to speed to the current trends. And by the end of October, we'll have about 35 staff certified at international training standards. For me, what we're doing now is to lay a foundation that when we get the best trainers, we get in our students, hand them over to these best trainers, and work with the private sector, who are the consumers of these products, and we work together. I am sure will make a very good contribution. And in the next few years, I know people are saying we have so many foreigners here. It is very good. It's not a bad precedence to have foreigners if they are bringing in good experience for our students to learn from. We will be able to shift this industry to the next level. If you ask around on the table, about 2 or 3 of the friends you have are thinking of putting up a tourism, an entertainment, a recreation, or an accommodation facility. So if that is what you're thinking about, then Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute is your best partner now. As you begin planning your establishment, let's talk together and we identify what would be the best human resources you need at the start. But some people come to you at the end of the tail, then they want this thing to move. They want 50 people to come in at once, new establishment, new everything, and then after 1 week everything is not working, and they say things are not working. I would appreciate that we work together. We also share with you the standards, not the standards of the properties, because if you're building a guest house, what kind of human resources do you need in terms of capacity, what you can pay? If you're building a hotel at 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, we begin with these discussions and plan with you the properties. So importantly, even the human resources currently in the industry, we are going to provide opportunities for refresher trainings to bring them back, refresh them, train them, and then they come back to you. So at the entrepreneur's side, are you willing to give your employees 1 week, 2 weeks off to come and be refreshed so that they can understand the trains? Or are you willing to allow us come and do the trainings at your establishments or in these regions to be able to bring these standards? Because one institution in the entire country is not enough. When I was in Tanzania, they have 4 campuses of our size. Currently, we have 1 campus. And when I look at the admissions per year, like for example, there are people who applied to join the Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute as per the closed admissions were 5,000. 5,000 applications for diplomas only. We received 3,000 applications for certificate programs only. That means the appreciation for the course, the profession has grown. Do we have that capacity now?
If you can summarize, please.
So as I summarize, what is our pivotal role? What do we promise? We promise that as you build your properties, we are ready to provide you with the industry-ready professionals to be able to transform your service and give your traveler a good experience in partnership with the different parties that play in this industry. With enhanced training technologies in terms of transformation, and I would call it mind change trainings for our graduates. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Big round of applause, Mr. Kawere. You can see that there's a lot of effort that is going on to help and build a critical human resource for the industry, which we appreciate. The last one, because these issues came up from the pre-events that preceded this, this historical event we are having. The tourism CEOs and other value chain stakeholders have asked for service delivery reform in frontline MDAs, interfacing with tourists and service providers. This is a question to me. As the newly appointed ED of Uganda Wildlife Authority, what concrete plans are you working on to embed a customer-centered culture that prioritizes on-time delivery, to increase the ease of doing business, reduce costs, and restore investor and visitor confidence in line with NDP4's tenfold ambition? So I want to quickly tell you about what we are doing at the Uganda Wildlife Authority to enhance tourism in the country. I'll be very brief so that we catch up with time. At the moment, we are actually working with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities to review our wildlife policy. We've been having some gaps. For example, one of the challenges we are facing is poaching. And when you go to the Murchison Falls area, you will actually find that some of the tools that are used in poaching, the spears, the man traps, the snares, are actually manufactured in the neighborhood. The challenge is that there is no enabling legislation for you to arrest and convict these people. When we arrest them, you take them to police and they say, under what law can we charge these people? So we are trying to embed a clause which can help us to have the people who are actually making the tools against for poaching culpable, so that we can be able to actually take them on. So we are reviewing the wildlife policy, so that in the long run we review the Wildlife Act to embed some of the clauses that are going to help us in law enforcement as well as prosecution. We are enhancing communication in our national parks. Just yesterday we had a discussion with ATC to actually establish 69 masts in all our protected areas, which can be actually taken on by the service providers to be able to enhance connectivity within the protected areas and also to support our online management system in terms of revenue generation, because we have gone online. We want you to go to a national park to be able to use the booking and revenue collection system online, and we need internet for that. So we're in a discussion, and we seem to be agreeing that we must facilitate connectivity within the protected areas by establishing masts that are going to help the tourists do real-time communication back home as they're in the national park. So we are working on that. Safety and security, we are increasing our ranger force this financial year by 500 in order to be able to monitor, but we are also partnering very closely with the tourism police to promote safety and security within our protected areas. We are advancing to use of technology in order for us to be able to manage our PS better. Right now we are establishing a command center, which is going to be at the headquarters. Construction has started. We've already established one in Queen Elizabeth National Park, Murchison Falls National Park, and the Chiba and Chidepo Valley National Park, where we are able to see what is happening in the park in real time. And this is going to help us to be able to manage. We are going to be able to see which animal is injured at any one time, where are the hotspots for poaching, how can we launch drone technology to be able to survey for us, and then send real-time data for us to be able to send rangers in a focused area, not just patrolling haphazardly. So we are using drones to be able to get us intelligence in real time so that we can intervene at the right place and at the right time, which is very critical. Training, continuous training for the in-service staff, but also those who are joining. I am glad to report that UA has established a fully-fledged training center. We have our own now, fully-fledged training center. We are now equipping it to be able to train our staff in customer care, human rights, especially law enforcement staff. They should be able to know that human rights is critical as they carry out law enforcement. We, of course, have to train people in guiding, so that a guide can do a good job, but also have a good smell as you're taking out these tourists so that they can have a good experience. So this training is going to help us a lot in enhancing our services in the protected areas. We are also promoting the wildlife-based enterprises. The private sector who are here, the law allows you to carry out wildlife-based enterprises. You can trade in wildlife. You can have a pet. People don't seem to know. The law allows you, and you can actually invest in wildlife-based enterprises, ranching, and there's quite some significant amount of money. And that should be able to help us create jobs for our people, create more taxes as a result of these enterprises that are being set up. In wildlife conservation, of course, we are fighting with poaching. We have challenges with poaching. And like I've said, we want to use technology, train our people more in command and control. We are carrying out electric fencing of the parks to reduce on human-wildlife conflicts, but also to make sure that we work very well with the communities. We want technology for law enforcement, human-wildlife conflict mitigation. We are putting in place drones. We are also starting to embark on acquisition of a helicopter this financial year. We are acquiring a helicopter, the first of its kind. In our neighboring countries, each park has got a helicopter. These help, the drones and helicopters, for example, help to drive back elephants. If they tend to stray to the communities, you just drive them back using the drones or the helicopters, and so you avert problems of human-wildlife conflict. That one we are already working on. We are going to be able to locate poachers in real time. We shall be able to manage fires. We are also fighting with invasive species as a result of climate changes. Our parks have been invaded by invasive species. We've revised our structure during the merger. We have now recruited species management specialists who are going to wake up in the morning and are thinking, how do we increase the number of lions in Chidepo? How do we increase the number of lions in Queen Elizabeth? How do we fight Kalemanjojo, the species that is driving away our animals from the various areas? So we are also we are acquiring 6 road units, which are going to help us open up the tracks in the parks so that they are motorable, so that the tourists can have a good experience. We want to open up new tracks. You may find that a very significant or small part of our PAs is under use, and we want to open up new tracks to support product diversification. We want to, excuse me, we want a tourist to do other things other than viewing wildlife. We have archaeology sites, we have other products in the parks that would like some people to enjoy when they come to the parks. We've developed a new booking and revenue collection system, which is helping us to manage revenue online and bookings. Very soon you're going to be able to book and print your permit from your sitting room. We are working on the system to enhance it further so that we can be able to achieve this. Thank you. We want delays at the gates to be history, at our PA gates. The system that we're developing is going to be automatic. It has a automatic number plate reading system with the number of tourists, for example, in the car. So the camera just flashes and data is generated without having to count the tourists physically. And this will help. As we do this, of course, we have also developed species management systems and the management plans. We want to have a plan for the lions. How do we increase lion numbers in our parks? Because they're a great attraction. How do we manage rhinos? You have heard about the Name and Save a Rhino campaign that we are on, and I invite you to join us. That is part of the 10-year strategy that we developed. We want to manage chimpanzees, so these species-specific programs are going to support us to improve the species numbers, the species diversity in a planned manner. Finally, partnerships. Partnerships have been critical, and these ones are going to be strengthened, working with the private sector, who are our ears on the ground, to be able to help us improve the service that we are offering. The rest we can discuss as we go along. I want you to join me to give a round of applause to our panelists for the great job well done. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your sharing. This marks the end of our session. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. James. And the panel, you've done justice to the discussion. I would like to invite you for a group photo just in front of the podium, and to join in the photo, please invite the permanent secretary, the chairman of the Uganda Tourism Board, as well as the chairperson of the Presidential CEO Forum and the CEO. And as that happens, we are live on our YouTube channel. We are also very active on the social media handles using the hashtags, hashtag Shaping the Nation, hashtag CEO Forum 2025. So tag us, share our content, and amplify it. And before the chairperson UTB leaves, glad to receive you, madam. And together, well, let me use the other. I know we were together at the Top Tourism Investors Retreat. I therefore find that there is no better person to shape the next panel conversation other than you, Madam Chairperson. It therefore gives me great honor to invite you to come and just give a keynote in shaping the next discussion, but also your takeaways from the top tourism investors forum. You're welcome, Madam. And with that, I hope Dr. Veronica is getting ready to introduce the next set of panelists. And I apologize for ambushing you. Just to give a shape of the next discussion, but also your takeaways from the top tourism investors retreat.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think you didn't introduce me. My name is Pearl Waro Kakoza. And as the MC did mention, I wouldn't say really new, the new board chair of Uganda Tourism Board. And I want to thank our minister for the first time appointing a woman into this seat. I have been a tourism professional since 1999. I said when I fell into tourism, and that is another story. I was one of the people at the retreat for the investors. And it was interesting to note, of course, what has also been repeated so far among the different panelists and people who have presented. Air connectivity, Madam Jennifer, I'm going to talk about domestic flights once again. She's never get tired of hearing that until we see our flying crane flying into Fort Portal, flying into Kisoro, flying into Gulu. That is one big dream I have and which will be achieved. Skilling has been talked about, and as the private sector is the consumer of the services which, or the product which the UHTTI, for example, turns out for us, I think you should understand it does take time. With my background of education, in the next 5 years is when we will start to see real, tangible results. The next panel discussion is going to speak very, very close to my heart with aviation, and you have some very, very good people to bring it out. Accessibility to Uganda. It was touched upon in the previous discussion panel. Uganda Airlines must become IATA accredited. I have sung this song. Why? Because then we will be able to forge partnerships with different airlines. As long as Uganda Airlines is not accredited, we cannot have what we call a code share with Emirates Airlines. We cannot have a code share with Delta Airlines. We can't have a code share with AA or Lufthansa Group. So this will bring us, or bring Uganda Airlines out into the global space so that our visitors will feel confident that they're dealing with a known brand. And if Delta Airlines, for example, from my tourists from America, one of our source markets, is going to feel confident to have a code share with Uganda Airlines, then everything must be kosher. They will feel confident that they're going to be transported to a destination that has been certified and is ready to receive them. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Dr. Veronica is going to take the stage now for the next panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know over lunch, Paul is going to find me. I think I'm ready. And I also like when we come for such conversations, not to stick to a script. Because when you stick to a script, you lose the depth of the conversation. So allow me to deviate a little from script, because last evening there were burning issues during the caucus. True? There was a gentleman who insisted they wanted to meet Madame Olive Lumoya. Because they are doing some work with drones, they are flying what, they are flying where. Is the gentleman with us? Oh yes, yes, yes. I made a promise and I think I keep some. I think after the panel, yeah, we'll see to it. Therefore, Madam, during the panel, so many things came up for civil aviation. I think it's only fair that I put you on the spot before the next panel. Come and deliver a few remarks, greet the people, but also tell us what CA is doing for us, and then we'll get into the panel discussion. I apologize, Dr. Veronica, you will allow me. So you're welcome. She's also my board member elsewhere where I serve, so I'm greatly honored to welcome you, madam.
Thank you, thank you.
Of course, I'm the one standing in between lunch. So please, I'll request you to be accommodative. But I was briefed this morning that actually the issues of aviation, as far as they can support tourism in Uganda, was a big challenge yesterday. It was an issue that was discussed yesterday. And I think one of the issues that comes out very clearly is the awareness of what Civil Aviation Authority does and what needs to be done in order to trigger and support tourism in Uganda is a challenge. So I'll just take about 2 minutes or 3 minutes to just give you some of the areas of what has been done and what we need to do. But allow me to thank the chair, raised a lot of things. Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, he was spot on. He hit us hard, but that is good because we get feedback and we're able to improve. So allow me also to thank the PS there. PS has been the pillar, the ambassador of tourism in this country. I think we are here because she chose to be over the years. So quickly, I think improving service in Entebbe International Airport, as it was raised. And the question I had, if you're traveling business, you're differentiating cost. Why aren't you differentiating service? I pay money, give me a better service. I think what we need to understand here is that we take the feedback positively and we'll do something to make sure that it improves. I want to commit that. But I also want you to know that the airport is run by different stakeholders. If you come in on the line and we have to have specific line, that is immigration. As you come out, that is URA. On the other levels, there's security. So what we've done, we now have a committee in place, which has the Civil Aviation Authority, immigration, URA, police, just to make sure that we are able to address issues that passengers raise. And unfortunately, if somebody is unhappy with immigration, it is CAA. So we have taken that up and we'll make sure that we are able to improve that. Now, I think I also need to share one thing. Many of you were asking, we have an airport, we have an airstrip in Fort Portal. And I asked Mr. Bagum, I think he'll be coming in on the panel. And I said, how many flew to Fort Portal yesterday? And he said, none. Maybe none knows. And what is the cost? $150. So you can imagine, if everybody in this room was aware that there's an airport, what we call an aerodrome or airstrip, just near here, where you needed to pay $150 to fly here, how many would have flown? So awareness becomes a big issue. But also I got questions on so many places. We have tourism in Fort Portal, we have tourism in Jinja, why aren't we there? The strategy for this country, I think, looks at a system, not only in Uganda, internationally. You must be able to look at your air transport, your road transport, water transport, and the train transport. So you look at the distance. For example, the distance between Kasese and Fort Portal is 70 kilometers. So if you're going to develop an international airport, you'll only develop it in Kasese. So you can't have the leeway to expand Fort Portal into an international airport, because then you won't have business there. So, and I'll give you why. We have distances, and I'll quickly. Saka, the airport here, is 1.3 kilometers runway. What does that mean? For you to fly Uganda Airlines, the smallest aircraft, that is a CRJ, you'll have to offload. I think for Saka, you won't even offload because it's too short. But if you go to fly to Jinja Aerodrome, which is 2.4 kilometers distance, and you want to take the CRJ of Uganda Airlines, which is the smallest, you'll need to download passengers to, I think, a maximum of 19, because the runway is short. So you'll find that most of these airstrips, aerodromes within the country, that everybody is requesting to have an airport there to support tourism, that is a big challenge. Kisoro, as an example, I think Kisoro now is I think 1.5. What happens when we go to Kisoro, and we are many, we offload some of the people in Imbarara in order to land in Kisoro. So there are those complications that are technical that must be put into place. So I think just that, I needed to mention that. The other one, I think there was an issue on water, that nothing has been done on water. I think when we go into the next discussion, we are going to be able to see I think it's called amphibious aircraft, the ones that land on water. Efforts have been conducted, concluded, and the company that is coming in to offer that has got a certification now from Uganda Airlines. You'll be able to share what it means. So in the few months, we should be able to see an amphibious on the air, on the water of Uganda. But I'm sure he will be able to give that. Now, what have we done at Civil Aviation Authority? Because for us to drive tourism in this country, there are things that I must. Infrastructure development. Without infrastructure development, we won't have the capacity to support tourism in this country. And I'll just take you through one of them, Entebbe International Airport. Many of you who have visited in the last 2 to 3 years, you've seen that we've just completed the extension of the new passenger terminal. Okay, so you go in, you get out, arrival and departure, that's a new development. The reason was to improve the service and improve the experience that people go through when they are coming to Uganda and leaving Uganda. That's the first one, which we concluded. The second one, we have been running. Those of you who came in lately, you've seen a big building coming up, a terminal building. That terminal building is going to help us to increase and be able to serve passengers from what we have now of about 2 million to 3.5 million passengers. And right now, it's at 98% completion. Those who are using bridges when you land, already we are using the bridges on that new terminal building. So there is hope that amidst all the challenges and issues that keep coming up, there are things that are still running on. Now, when we go up country, tourism is up country. You cannot support tourism without going to support the aerodromes up country. I think also those, I must say, plans are in place. We have started, I remember some of you saw the 6 tourism circuits. Those are the airports that were supposed to be upgraded, improved, in order for them to be able to support tourism. The first one that I can give you, which has already moved, is Kisoro. Kisoro, we have already resurfaced the runway. As I said, we are in negotiations with the Kisoro team. I think some members of parliament are supporting us a lot. We need more land in order to expand the runway. That will give us the flexibility to be able to land more people. What have we done also in Kisoro? Those who have been there lately, we've also built a terminal building in Kisoro. That terminal building is now out, it's open, it serves about 100 passengers. So the 6 airports or aerodromes or airstrips that we have picked, efforts are also already going in there and will continue to move. When we go to Pakuba, I'm not sure many of you have been to Pakuba. Pakuba is actually in the national park, closer to Para, Safari Lodge, and the others. Pakuba is also on the line. Right now we are building a terminal building, which is at 70% completion, because we know that it's in the middle of the park and will be able to connect. But I think what we need to do after here is to try and get as many of you visiting some of these places so that everybody is in the know on what efforts are being done elsewhere. Kidepo, many of you have been reading in the newspapers, Chalja, it's a boat, build, operate, and transfer arrangement, which the president has supported, government has signed. We are sure that that is going to go on very soon. But we are relocating, those who have been there, we are relocating it from where it was in the national park to the peripheries. When you transfer it to the peripheries, then you allow other players to utilize it. Gulu, that has been going on. Right now, we are in the final tender stages to turn Gulu into an international airport. I think the chair board at UTB mentioned that she's always wanted to fly to Gulu. For your information, Gulu has a proper run capacity. It's, I think, 3.2 kilometers. So the CRJ, as Jennifer builds the aircraft, the domestic tourism, she's able to fly to Gulu because that issue, which is a very highly technical issue, is not there. Arua, many of you have been there. There's a new terminal building. Arrangements are going on with the ADB. ADB has accepted. And if ADB comes on board, again, some of the issues will be addressed. Tarmacking of the road will be done. The control tower, that's the air traffic control tower that monitors your travels and movements, will be put in place. So that's also in place. That is going on. Jinja, I'm sure many of you have read in the newspapers or been following it. We still have a challenge with the Jinja Aerodrome. The runway is short. I think it's now 2.4 kilometers. So the last 6 months, we had a meeting in Jinja. The president came and officially flagged it off. We requested the president that for us to be able to utilize Jinja, we need land. He's given authority, is approved. A letter has come out requesting UPDF to give us part of the land. Because an airport can only be an airport if you have the fire station, which is a huge project. You have the air traffic control, which is a huge project. All those must fit within a certain radius of an airport. So I must say that we are happy that the president has cleared that. And 2 weeks ago, we met with the lands, we met UPDF, and they will be able to pass on this land to us. The next one, those who have been to Jinja, as you come out of the aerodrome, there are people who have built in the airport land. Even that, the president has asked something needs to be done. So we see a lot of support from the side of government supporting us. And once that is done, we should be able to move. I think that's what I can give you. But on a bigger part of CAA, what have we done on CAA? There's what we call the Bilateral Air Services Agreement, BASA. For you to fly from one country to another and be allowed to fly there, you must have a bilateral air services agreement, which we call a BASA. Today we have 59 bilateral air service agreements with different countries in the world. So once we have all these aerodromes in place, we should move. The other one is called the SATAM, the Single Africa Transport Movement. The SATAM has come big. I think right now, 38 countries in Africa has signed. Uganda is in the final stages of signing. When that comes, it will allow us to improve connectivity within the country. And finally, I'll just give you the numbers. If you recall, our passengers were few today. 2019, we had 1.8 million passengers. 2024, we've had 2.2 million passengers. So the growth is going ahead. That is the same with the cargo. The challenge we have is domestic tourism. And I want to leave you with that. The country may build the infrastructure. We may have the aerodromes ready for the tourism. But if the tourists are not there to utilize the facilities that government has invested in, it will be a loss. So today, as we speak, the number of passengers that travel internally or locally are still few, and they have reduced a bit. So we need to do, what we need to do in this meeting, all of us, is to say, what do we need to do in order to increase the domestic tourism so that we are able to utilize the investments that have been put in. So allow me to thank you very much once again and say we will continue to support. We supported Uganda Airlines opening the route to UK. I chaired that for 3 years. We are now happy Uganda Airlines flies to the UK. I chaired the one to Nigeria, negotiating with Nigeria. We are flying to Nigeria. So as a regulator, which is Civil Aviation Authority, there is commitment, full commitment to make sure that tourism in this country continues to grow, continue to be supported. Thank you very much. I'm not the MC, I know, but I welcome our minister. I'll ask you to take over.
Thank you very much, Madam Moya. I would like to welcome and recognize the Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Balam Barugahara. Aside from being Honorable Minister, is also a great investor in the tourism sector. So you're welcome. I'd also like to recognize and welcome the CEO of MTN, who are our sponsors. In your absence, we appreciated you, Madame Sylvie. You're very welcome. And we look forward to panel discussion. The panel is coming up next. But also in our presence, we have only one person wearing a crown. I mean, she's the only one who can pull it off. Ladies and gentlemen, we have little Miss Toro in our presence. Oh, there are two. Eh? Ah, nice. So I would like at this juncture to invite Dr. Ah, nice. Dr. Hey. Hey. He said when I'm program director, things might change a bit, but they change for good. Eh? So before Dr. Veronica, it's my singular honor to invite the Honorable Minister, who also happens to be a good friend, to come give his remarks and greet the constituents. Eh? So Honorable Minister, you're welcome to give your remarks, sir. Okay. Martha? Yeah, and as we get the minister ready, let's have Dr. Veronica give brief introductions about the panel that will be coming on shortly after.
Welcome, everyone. It gives me an honor to be here today. I am Dr. Veronica Wabukao, and I'm a senior policy analyst at the Presidential CEO Forum. We have had a lot of conversations today. We've had a lot of feedback. Before I introduce the panel, I just want to give you a background on why we are asking the specific questions that you're hearing. You gave us feedback and you told us the areas of opportunity that you think should be strengthened. We have a lot of experts in this room that are coming into Shade Room to give more detail about what you are saying, and I'm very proud that we have all the information. They're giving as much feedback as possible. The aerodromes have been a huge question, discussion everywhere we're going, and you've had a Civil Aviation Authority providing all the detail that we need. So thanks everyone who is coming up here. And thanks for your feedback. So the next panel that we have, this is panel 2, we are going to be focusing on accessibility and awareness. And our panel, once again, is constituting of, we have Uganda Airlines, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. I guess, Madam Olive, you'll just come and have a seat, but your feedback has already been taken. I don't think you need to answer the question because that was the exact question that you had. But in case there are questions, maybe you can join us when the time comes. We do have Mr. Tony Rubombora, from the CEO of Eagle Air. Customer service is very important. We would like to hear from our operators on what they expect their customers to receive so that we know how best to accommodate them. We are going to hear from the CEO of MTN, Madame Sylvia Malinge. Connectivity has been mentioned all through these meetings. Everyone believes that we should be able to have real-time ability to communicate whenever we are in these attractions, and she'll provide an insight into that. And we also have Mr. Philip Obita, who is the Chief Explorer Officer of Uganda National Oil Company, who is coming in again. Conservation is everything, but we also need the minerals, so how do we bring the two together to make sure that each and everyone is achieving their goal without impacting the other? So that is going to be our panel, and give me a second. I don't know if I should call in the panel or if I should wait a bit, because I think our Honorable Minister is going to speak. So, just give me a second, please. Okay, so I think I'm going to progress with the panel. No? We are waiting for the minister's speech, so if we can wait a few, yeah. And I can give a lot more feedback if you want. We can have more conversations with the group. I will continue with introducing myself. I didn't tell you about who I am a little bit more as we wait for everyone. I stand for tourism because I'm also a former track athlete of Uganda, and I represented Uganda at the Commonwealth Games. I was the captain in the late 1990s, 2000. So it gives me pleasure, thank you very much, to stand here as a sports personality who has also been able to venture into academia and policies. And a lot of the policies, when the creatives speak, I hear them. The monetization is a big thing. If you notice, all our athletes, they make it to the Olympics, they bring in national records, but if you give it 15, 20 years, the lifestyle may not align because we need to learn how to monetize our skills. So there are lots of things that I hope we are taking from today. We brought in the creative sector specifically for that. These are the youth, and the youth are more than 70% of Uganda's economy. So when a conversation comes and we are asking, what should we do to monetize TikTok? It is a very important conversation because so many of the youth are going there, they are not making money, and they are spending a lot of time on these platforms. When they talked about the issue of the TikTok, there is one area that I wanted to emphasize as a former banker. It's all about anti-money laundering, and that's why government comes in. If anyone in the world does not know who they are paying, they call it a KYC, know your customer. Uganda is missing up on opportunities because we don't have the ability to identify our population to the T. So the Western world is not willing to engage to pay us because they are not sure what we are going to use the money for. So that's one of the feedback that I thought I should bring out because they are scared. And in my former company, HSBC, we actually lost 1.9 billion for AML because we had 2 customers that came into the database and they were not clearly verified, and the company lost 1.9 billion. So the Western world will not work with us if they cannot identify who we are. A national ID is great, but if that national ID is not tied to where you live, how they can contact you, TikTok, YouTube, we will continue engaging, but no one will come in because of that big risk. But anyway, so we can wait for everyone else. I hope that was some little extra I've added to our policy analysts. Who are we? Who is Veronica Wabukao? Where does she live? Where did she go to school? Does she have even dates? This is information that these guys need to know before they can engage with us. He's back here.
Okay, I think the Honorable Minister is now ready. It gives me great pleasure to invite the Honorable Minister to give his remarks.
Honorable colleagues, members of parliament, I heard Alex Rubunda is here, the Presidential CEO Forum Board, the captains of the industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to address this distinguished gathering on a matter that goes to the heart of our country's economic transformation, the role of young people in enhancing tourism. Uganda is a blessed nation, a land of unmatched beauty, rich culture, and abundant biodiversity. From the source of the Nile to the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountains, from our wildlife to our music, dance, and hospitality, where I serve, Uganda stands as a jewel of Africa. Yet this potential can only be fully realized when our most valuable resource, the youth, take their place at the center of tourism chain. Our president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has constantly emphasized the strategic importance of tourism. He once said, tourism is one of the fastest vehicles of transforming our economy because it brings in money without taking anything away. This wisdom reminds us that the tourism is renewable, sustainable, and capable of uplifting the entire community without depleting natural resources. To achieve our national ambition of growing the economy tenfold, the youth must be empowered to innovate, to create, to lead within the tourism sector. The statistics speak for themselves. Uganda's population is predominantly young people, with over 70% below the age of 30. This demographic advantage is a powerful force. If harnessed strategically, youth have the creativity to market Uganda globally through digital platforms, the innovation to design new tourism experiences, and the energy to develop enterprises that cater to both domestic and international tourists. Through entrepreneurship, technology, and creative industry, young people can position Uganda as the most attractive tourism destination in Africa. In this regard, the Presidential CEO Forum has emerged as a vital platform for aligning the private sector, government, and the youth in national transformation. It is a forum that not only promotes dialogue, but also ensures that the priorities of the nation, tourism among them, are implemented through collective action. It is through such platform that youth voices are amplified and their innovation integrated into the broader development agenda. Allow me also to highlight what my ministry is doing to complement the tourism sector. We recognize that tourism cannot thrive in isolation. It depends on strong enablers such as infrastructure, trade, education, innovation. My ministry has taken concrete steps to invest in skills development. We are working with partners to equip young people with vocational and digital skills relevant to transform from hospitality and tour guiding to content creation and marketing. Our ministry is also promoting creative industry. Uganda's culture, music, film, and fashion are powerful tools of tourism promotion. Through targeted programs, we are supporting young creative to showcase Uganda's identity to the world. Recently, we passed a budget of close to 30 billion to support the art sector. Foster digital innovation is the other thing the role we are playing. Recognizing the role of technology, we are supporting youth-led startups in digital platform that promote tourism, online bookings, virtual storytelling. These initiatives help market Uganda to the global audience. Also, our ministry is facilitating market access. We are building partnerships that link young entrepreneurs to both domestic and international tourism markets, ensuring that their innovation translates into real opportunities. We are also strengthening community engagement. Our ministry works with the local government to ensure tourism benefits flow to communities, thereby encouraging young people in rural areas to protect and promote their heritage. All these efforts are deliberate contribution to building a tourism sector that is youth-driven, inclusive, and sustainable. As the President further reminded us, tourism is a sector where jobs are created quickly, incomes are generated, communities are empowered. This is why our policies are aligned to ensure youth don't stand on the sidelines, but are active participants and beneficiaries of Uganda's tourism boom. In a conclusion, Uganda's aspiration of achieving the tenfold economy is ambitious, but it is also achievable. The youth of Uganda, supported by government and the private sector, hold the key. By combining their creativity with our natural endowment, guided by visionary leadership of His Excellency the President, there is no doubt that tourism can become the anchor of economic transformation. As I conclude once again, I'm here to remind you that we shall be having an election in the coming few months, and Ugandans have demanded that the visionary leader, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, once again holds a flag for the mighty party NRM. So we'll be seeking election in the coming election, I think mid-January. So I call upon all of you, the investors. We are who we are because of stability, which has been brought about by His Excellency the President. He's focusing on infrastructure development, is working on our parks to ensure they are safe, is allowing more hotels to come up, like one that is coming up in Masindi, is allowing so many other things to happen. That cannot happen if we are in an unstable nation. So on that point, I appeal to you, fellow investors, CEOs of companies, the giant ones, including my sister Sylvia from MTN, our biggest sponsor. Please support the president in any way you can. You may not have a vote, but you have a voice. Let's stand by the president. God bless you all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm sure I read part of your speech. The last part is intriguing. When dealing with government especially, a group photo is extremely important. Therefore, before the minister leaves, I'll invite the minister, the permanent secretary, the board, our panelists, to please have a group photo, and then we can get into the panel discussion. And I'm reliably informed that the stage has been set at the big banner, so I'll request that just the people taking the photo go to the banner, and then we'll get into the conversation. And I hope we do that quite quickly, so I'll allow the CEO to lead the delegation for the group photo. Dr. Muvawala. Okay, let's have a break for 5 minutes, the interlude, and then we'll get back into the conversation.
My role is really to represent the private sector on the committee, and also to ensure that there's a very good connection of the dots between private sector, their interests. The opportunities are immense. Uganda is at a wonderful crossroads. Well, Uganda has previously been considered as a little overpriced destination in comparison to the other destinations. Recent trends have also told us that there's a big concern in over-tourism. So
you know, the idea behind viral estate was to finally create spaces that reflect who we are, what we care about, and what we need as Africans.
is Mr. Tone Rubombora, who is the CEO of Eagle Air. Customer service and customer experiences is at the tip of the tourism sector, and he's going to tell us what our customers expect when they come to Uganda and how best we can serve them. And then I would like to invite the CEO of MTN, Madame Sylvia Molinge. You're most welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. We know connectivity is very important for tourism. If you can't have real-time communication, there are so many challenges you can face. And she's going to talk to us about how MTN can support us in the tourism sector and what the government should do to enable her and MTN and all other ICT companies to engage in the tourism sector. I think this is my full team. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to start with a simple question, and it's something I did in the data, but it's just showing up for tourism. If you notice, these are one of the panels where you're going to see more women than men, if you look. And when we were at UWEC, we did a very quick assessment. The question was, tell us your gender. And 58% were women, and 42% were men. I have to say that the tourism sector seems to be one of those that is inclusive, that is allowing female participation, and I think we should applaud for that. Without any further ado, we're going to start with our questions. And the first question, since Madame Jennifer is next to me, has been expressed by the stakeholders. You've heard Madame Pearl come in and mention the same. Some of us are just learning about being IATA accredited and what it means. So since it's a story that is going on, we'd like you to enlighten us about what your plans are for getting accredited, what the policymakers and enablers from government should do to support you. These questions are just icebreakers. Please don't limit yourself to that particular question. Feel free to provide any more insight on whatever else you feel like you want to discuss. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Veronica. My colleague and lady, Olive, talked about accreditation. So what is IATA? And a lot of what Pearl has always said to me about IATA. So IATA is the International Air Transport Association. And in the past, airlines could become IATA before they were what we call IOSA. And what is IOSA? IOSA is the IATA Operational Safety Audit. So in the past, as far back as 2014, you'd register, become a member of IATA, immediately start to do the different code shares and interlines that Paul talked about without becoming an IOSA certified airline. Now, if you hear, IOSA has a lot to do with safety. So now it has changed. You have to first be an IOSA accredited airline before you can become an IATA member. The good news for Uganda Airlines is we start our audit will commence in February 2026 for a week. Then we must be able to align all our processes internally in different areas to become IOSA aligned. These areas will help us to improve the airline operational safety through the industry's global audit program, which is IOSA, and it will also improve efficiency in how we run the organization. Now, the areas that are looked at, especially when you're doing IOSA, the corporate organization and management systems, flight operations, operational control, that is flight dispatch. They are the people that lead the pilots and do their formations and how they land, aircraft maintenance and engineering, cabin operations, that is the cabin crew, everything that is done inside the cabin, ground handling, that is on the ground at the airport, at check-in, on the ramp, your baggage, all that, cargo operations as well as operational security. So how will we require support? Like I was telling Olive earlier today, the support from the regulator will be in terms of manuals, processes, because all that is going to change. And we have to do a whole set of new manuals in those areas that I have highlighted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have the answer. We are in the process of getting IATA. Are yourself accredited first before we can become IATA, is that right? And this is something that is already in the process, so the stakeholders who expressed this as feedback, it is already work in progress. Go ahead.
And by the way, to mention something for the purposes of our audience, there are some airlines that we've already started partnering with, even without IOSA or IATA. So we have a bilateral agreement with Qatar. We have with Rwandair, we have with Precision, we have with Emirates. Recently we signed with Air India and South African Airways. So there are some airlines that come and look at your processes internally, then already work with you because they see that you align. It's one of those things that IOSA demands, that if you have to work with the airline that is not IOSA accredited, you can go in and check their processes and get them approved. And for your information, you can be IOSA accredited and you're not an IATA member. So now the thing is IOSA. You must be an IOSA accredited airline by all times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. And just for everyone here, to my limited understanding, this is a lot of expertise that I may not be able to describe. But if I go to Expedia and I try to look for a ticket for a flight coming to Uganda, if you haven't got all these accreditations in order, you may not be the top on the search engines. And then Ugandans may not choose the airline immediately. So what we're talking about is very, very important for this sector, and we are glad that everything is work in progress already. Okay, so we are going to leave Madame Olive already. She has given us the feedback. You've heard a lot. Everywhere we've been, aerodromes, aerodromes. I even had to learn the aerodromes. I didn't know there was a specific word for them. But this has been going on everywhere, and she has given feedback. She's given a plan. She's given what is happening where and when, and we thank her for that feedback. Allow me to move on to Mr. Samuel Baguma. And this is the acting country director of the Mission Aviation Fellowship, working with Kajansi at the Kajansi airstrip. I think what we need to understand here is what is this organization about, and how can you be placed to support tourism?
Thank you very much. It's good to be part of this, and I just wanted to, first and foremost, as you've asked, to let you know what Mission Aviation Fellowship is. And we are a humanitarian air operator that specifically dedicates our work to providing access to the most remote locations around the world. And at the moment, Mission Aviation Fellowship operates the world's largest fleet of humanitarian aircraft. So there is no any other organization that has the equivalent of what we actually provide. And then because of the expertise we have in remote flight operations, in Uganda, we have been at the heart of establishing the operations in some of these very, very remote locations. When you talk of even the more established aerodromes, we were at the beginning of them all, actually building them and then working with the Civil Aviation Authority and the local communities in order to make these aerodromes accessible to all. And one thing that I really want to emphasize here is that when it comes to providing access and opening up access to these remote areas, the most remote areas in Uganda are actually some of the most beautiful, some of the most touristic attractions that we have. And for us to be able to open them all up, it is indeed important that we have these aerodromes. But if we are going to wait for the government, for the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority to open up these airports in all these places, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be waiting until the cows come home. Because the idea is, what is an aerodrome? It is actually a piece of land, first and foremost. And who owns the land? It is the local community actually owns the land. And it is the private partnership that we can actually get into to get ownership of that land and to be able to establish these relationships and then to build these aerodromes. I can give you a very perfect example, is that right now I am working with the district of Yumbe, who have now gone and bought enough land from the local landowners, and through their district budget are now compensating the local landowners so that we can then help them to build an aerodrome in that area. We are talking of some of the most attractive places like Mbale and in the eastern region. We are in discussion right now with a landowner that is on the border between Mbale and Bukedia. And if that land is actually then acquired, then we can help them to build an aerodrome there that will serve the eastern region. But apart from that, some of the questions that were raised this morning is that what are we doing about Lake Victoria, the access to the waters of Lake Victoria? From a humanitarian perspective, what we can tell you is that the people living on the islands of Lake Victoria are so close, and yet they are the most isolated communities. They are so hard to reach. But what we have done is that in order to be able to reach the communities on the islands of Lake Victoria, I mean, the islands themselves are 203 islands on this lake, and 86 of those islands are all on the Ugandan side of the lake. So in only about 4 weeks' time, we will be introducing an amphibious aircraft that will land both on land, and then we can also use it on Lake Victoria. What that one does is that it enables essential services, education, health, and everything that the islanders actually need to be able to reach the islands without the risks of capsizing on dugout canoes that are powered by outboard motors or on crowded ferries. But also, what you can then see is that tourism can also use that to be able to reach some of these most beautiful places on the islands of Lake Victoria, to do it in a safe and conducive manner. So aviation is a very, very safety required environment, that for us to be able to operate safely and efficiently, we have to always be thinking of all these audits that Jennifer is talking about, all enhance the safety of our operations. So what we are doing right now, because there is no regulations that govern seaplane operations in Uganda, we're working with the Civil Aviation Authority to actually take civil aviation inspectors, take them to an operation where we already operate these aircraft on rivers and lakes, so that they can see how we have established water aerodromes. And then when they come, they are not going to over-regulate, because one of the biggest problems we have in Uganda is it's very easy and convenient to say, no, you can't do this, because we don't know whether it is going to be safe, or because we don't have the expertise to do this. So if we can increase the expertise and the knowledge of how these things are actually done very safely, then we can limit these hindrances of you come for a certification of a particular aerodrome, and the CAA just puts all these barriers in place just because they don't know that you can actually do this safely. So by demonstrating to them that this can be done in a safe manner, then we can be able to operate these aerodromes in a very safe way. So, and that can also be used to boost the tourism in this country. Last night we talked a lot about how difficult it was for everybody to get to this conference, to this retreat. I almost stood up and said, I could have flown each and every one of you to Fort Portal, because we fly here nearly all the time. The SAC airstrip is actually usable. The only problem is it is short. And the land around it has actually been encroached. It was long enough at one point in time, but it has now been encroached by the locals, and to a point where you cannot actually take off at maximum weight. And for that reason, it is limited in how much we can actually use it. Now, who is going to resolve that? Are you going to start calling on the government or the president to come and sort out these problems? It is us, the people that are actually using the people that own this land. Who owns the largest pieces of land in Fort Portal? That is the kingdom. So if the people in Fort Portal want an aerodrome, start with providing a long enough piece of land that we can help you to actually develop an airstrip that will serve the community. But in all of this, don't take away the role of the CAA, because the CAA will come in to ensure that everything that is being done at that particular aerodrome is safe and meets the regulations. And that is where we come in. So as we are providing the humanitarian services to all these remote locations, the infrastructure that we are putting in place is open to all of you to be able to use for the benefit of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Baguma, the feedback that I am hearing here is we really need to keep enforcing the private and public partnerships. We cannot do it alone as a government, and we need an enabling environment. And he is asking that we cannot keep asking the government to do everything. We need to participate, we need to engage, and there are things we can do by ourselves. So thank you very much. The next question is going to Mr. Tone Rubombora. This is the CEO of Eagle Air. And we know that our tourists are going to be happiest when the travel goes smoothly and when they have a good time. So the question that we have for Mr. Rubombora is about customer experience. So from your perspective, we are looking for what end-to-end experience your customers expect, from when you pick them up to when they reach where they're going. And what are the gaps that we have in that? We have been doing a lot of questioning, but we haven't been able to look on the customer side. So much as it's still on the demand, on the supply side, it can give us an idea of what the customers are expecting. So we have their voices heard as well. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Veronica. First and foremost, on behalf of the first and the third panelists, and myself, we would like to welcome you all to Toro, because these are all children of the soil, if you want me to put it that way. I would like to thank the Presidential CEO Forum for bringing this to Fort Portal, and I'm sure you are all enjoying the good weather we have here. Now, I'll just briefly talk about Eagle Air. Eagle Air is the longest serving private company which operates in Uganda, which is not an NGO and not supported by government. We've been in operation for 31 years, and our main base is at Entebbe International Airport. And we have supported this country in tough times, especially in the difficult years of 1997 to 2005 when there was upheaval in the northern part of Uganda. And we used to fly our small aircraft, not as big as Jennifer's, they are about 19 seats, into almost all fields in northern Uganda. And also, we participated quite a lot in flying in the region surrounding us. For example, in our history, we've flown different dignitaries, including the then President of Tanzania, Nyerere, Julius Nyerere, the late John Garang, before he became president, and also the late Laurent Kabila in Congo, and also Joseph Kabila, and the President of Uganda at one stage or another in the areas where we operate. The question you have put before me is a question concerning the end-to-end, really, expectation of the passengers that we take. What do they expect? There are several components to this. First of all, we thank and congratulate Uganda Airlines for reaching out to international destinations to be able to bring in these customers together with other operators. When they land at Entebbe Airport, the customer expects a quick transfer, probably in a car, and then where there is an option, they would rather fly to their destination. Most of the tourists, or to put it mildly, the value tourists, are looking at not spending 8 to 10 hours on the road, but flying direct to their destination, which is usually the national parks or the tourist attractions. And that we are able to do it to the extent that the infrastructure permits. I would like to tell you that if you want to compare performance with our peers, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, we fall far behind them because they have small airstrips. When we talk about an aerodrome, I know Madam Olive was talking about building a terminal building. I think what is most important is a strip which is about 3 kilometers long, preferably a tar strip, so that there is minimum damage to the aircraft. Now, what happens in Uganda is that we have a country with varying altitudes, from Kisoro and Fort Portal down to Pakuba. The altitudes are quite different. That is why you find that the higher the altitude, the longer you require to have an airstrip. Now, this goes a little further. If you have a short airfield, and Madam Olive, I would like to correct you, the field in Saka is only 700 meters, and it can only take a few specialized aircraft. And usually they don't exceed 10 or 11 passenger seats. Yet, if you want to bring in a big group, like 500 people, you need a long airstrip where you can bring in maybe a 30, a 20, 30, or 70-seater aircraft, which can bring in the groups quickly and then be able to do it also a lot cheaper. Now, the specialized aircraft that we have are very expensive, and also, if or at a futuristic stage, the infrastructure is done, they will not be as useful as when the infrastructure is not done. Now, in its 31 years, Eagle Air has diversified from just flying, because we recognize that flying has to be supported by maintenance. in order to offer a safe product. And we built a facility in Entebbe to carry out maintenance. And as I congratulate Uganda Airlines for doing their first engine change in Entebbe, I'd also like to say that they did it in the facility of Eagle Air. Now, I think, considering that we don't have much time, I would like to look at recommendations to the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Last night at our briefing, Mr. Mvawala told us that you are targeting to have a $500 billion economy by the year 2040. Now, if I look at our economy today, which is about 65 billion, and I look at the contribution of tourism to the economy, which amounts to somewhere between 2 and 2.5%, Mr. Muvawala and your team, in order for you to meet your target in 2040, you will require to be able to raise about 6 times as much in terms of turnover for the tourist industry, to raise approximately 10 billion, which would be about 2% of the 500 billion. Now, how are you going to do that? Is the question. And here is our recommendation. And in this recommendation, I'll touch a little bit about the government's involvement. I don't mean to, I actually applaud government for investing in Uganda Airlines, Madam Jennifer and your team. And in my estimation, you have spent as government upwards of $500 to $800 million to kickstart the airline. And at least for the foreseeable future, you'll continue subsidizing the airline. Not because they are inefficient, but because almost all airlines, yeah, Rwanda Air, Kenya Airways, Air Tanzania, they're all being subsidized. And we agree that that subsidy can come from the government. But you as government need to look at what you need to do for the private sector in Uganda who can drive the local flights so that we reach every destination of this country without having to bother Madam Jennifer with the details of going into Saka with a CRJ, which is impossible. You can't even go to Arua with the CRJ. You cannot go to Kisoro with the CRJ. But if you have invested 600, maybe $700 million, what about considering spending only 5% of that and creating a fund so that private sector companies can take loans? And we are not asking for handouts, we are asking for loans at low interest rates of 2 to 3%. And now, I'm sure Madam Jennifer will probably tell you how much more money you'll need to pay her. What you subsidize her, you need to give it to us once in 10 years, and we'll cover the entire of this country with a network of passengers, even when the infrastructure is not developed. All we are looking for is low interest loans. And I'll tell you, we have survived and grown by going to commercial banks where you pay interest rates of, if you are lucky, 11%. With hidden figures, it actually runs to about 13 to 15%. Now, if we have survived with such high interest rates and been able to set up our facilities like the facility that Uganda Airlines is enjoying now, please look into financing the private sector with loans, not handouts, with loans at low interest rates. And I believe that this will be shared by many other operators who are looking for low interest loans. The cost of money in this country is prohibitive. Ladies and gentlemen, while you're in Fort Portal, I also invite you to come and visit Mabere Ganyinabwiru. Yeah? That is where my home is, and please enjoy Fort Portal. I'm sure the ministry will look into our requests and build for us airfields. If we have a 3-kilometer airstrip here, we'll be flying in here with ease, and we'll establish schedule operations. And also looking at the request for low interest loans. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rubombora. He has raised a lot of very important points. The issue of access to credit has come in. The tourism sector is asking. And this is, I think, the second time the recommendation is coming, because when we met the top CEOs, they recommended a tourism development levy, where they were saying at least a percentage be charged, and that money deposited into a bank where the tourism sector can access those ring-fence loans just for tourism. So I think the message of access to financing is coming in a lot. A lot of you have expressed your concerns, inability to borrow because of high appraisal fees. Sometimes it's even not being bankable or not knowing what to do, and that message has been taken. Thank you very much. So the next question that we have is for our last panelist, that's Madame Sylvia Molinge, and this is for MTN. You're most welcome. We are glad to have you. We know the impact that you have on Uganda is very huge, because I believe you must be reaching the highest number of Ugandans in this country. So the question that we have is, we know that we need to have digital connectivity because tourism needs it. Many people are complaining about no networks. If I travel to the national parks, I disappear somewhere, and when my family is calling, I keep saying there was no network. So how are we going to strengthen that? So the question that we have is, from your perspective, we need you to guide us how MTN can support us, the government, to increase accessibility to Uganda's key tourist areas through digital connectivity and innovations. But there's also part two, how government can collaborate with you to expand the infrastructure. So what can you do? What can we do to support you? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting the telecom sector to be part of this important conversation. Obviously, when we're having conversations about infrastructure, especially in terms of increasing and improving access, we don't only discuss roads, but we also discuss the digital highways, and these digital highways live on our network. So a critical conversation. For us, first of all, we are regulated by the Ugandan Communications Commission, and as part of the license obligation we have a mandate to ensure that we provide 90% geographical coverage as part of our license obligation. So we currently have an agreement with the Uganda Wildlife Authority, where we have agreed to connect about 69 sites, telecom sites, in national parks and reserves across the country. And this is critical in terms of ensuring that we're able to provide meaningful coverage for the experiences that you have. Because obviously, as we also target to improve tourism, one of the things that customers also want to do is not only just be able to have access, but also be able to share the experiences that they have. And the way we communicate nowadays is through the digital platforms. And we can't do that if we don't have connectivity at the places where they are enjoying their passions and experiencing the wonderful tourism sector that we have. So out of the 69 sites that we have agreed to roll out, we are halfway there. We have put up about 27 4G sites, which are not only providing connectivity from a voice and data perspective, but also one of the things we are also partnering on is also making sure that even for these hotels, as well even as for collection fees, we can be able to provide mobile money as a service that enables easier and more convenient way to be able to collect fees or tourists to be able to make payments. And we are looking forward to a day when people will be able to travel without cash in their wallets because they can be able to pay leveraging the financial infrastructure that we've also rolled out, which also depends a lot on the networks. So for us, our contribution to tourism is around, and to the national agenda of growing the overall economy of Uganda is about making sure that we expand coverage. It's about also providing reliable services so that you remain connected. You don't have to have that issue of losing connectivity. It's also about providing the financial infrastructure using mobile money that allows tourists to be able to pay for their park entry fees, accommodation, and travel seamlessly without cash. And then, of course, it's about us partnering with organizations such as UTB and UA in giving them smart tourism tools for their hotels and their agents and the guides that help to provide maps, emergency contacts, and also as a part of enriching the storytelling that is around the tourist experience. Now, obviously, we have made progress, but there are still challenges. And some of the things that are probably limiting the speed with which you can move is access to sites. I have been, I think last year, to Bwindi impenetrable forest with my children to be able to track the gorillas, which was an amazing, amazing experience. But you realize that to be able to provide connectivity, even for the hotels that are there, it requires us to be able to clear trees, to be able to put up some of the sites. And I think it's a balancing, delicate balancing act because we obviously have to be conscious that we're not disrupting the ecosystem, but also at the same time, we must be given access. And I think this is a critical conversation that we've had. So probably the reason why you don't have network in the places where you want to share the experiences that you have is because we have not gotten access. So that's why the partnership that we have with UA and NFA then becomes important. And then also even for our engineers, because these sites need to be maintained. Our engineers cannot also be paying the same amount as tourists when they're coming to provide maintenance on these sites, which is what currently happens. They are billed park entrance fees like tourists, despite being on technical duty. And these are some of the things that we're engaging to fix. The other thing is the high rental costs. We pay annually $12,000 per site annually to UA and about $15,000 per site to NFA, which is even higher than the rates that we pay in Kampala. And if you look at that from then an economic perspective, it makes then the investment that we need to make in these areas a lot more challenging. We are conscious of the fact that we won't get the same volume of customers, but I think if we are really interested in multiplying and amplifying the impact that the tourism sector makes and the role that digital connectivity can play, it's also important that we consider how much we're charging for these sites, because many times to be able to provide a reliable service and high uptime, we have to pull fiber to some of these locations, or we have to provide high capacity microwave sites, which are expensive. But now that is further limited by the rental cost that we have to pay. So this is something that we're engaging on. I have to say that this 12,000 was negotiated and has come down, but it's still expensive, right? And I think we should not be targeting to be more expensive than areas like Kampala, which can provide a good benchmark. There is also the challenge of powering these sites, which also need to be considered as part of the overall costs that we are looking at. Many of these sites, we have to power them with off-grid generators or expensive solar systems. It would obviously be cheaper for us to utilize hydropower solutions. And therefore, this calls for participation and investment also by the government in terms of extending grid electricity. Electricity is blood to digital transformation. It's critical. You cannot talk about, and especially as we move to the world of AI, there is a lot of consumption of power. And if then we have to do it in a sustainable way, we then have to make sure that we extend grid electricity to these locations And also being conscious that you're not only extending, as you extend to be able to provide connectivity, the communities that are also within that area also get benefited, and therefore it provides double impact. And then I think the last two things which are also important is permit delays. Sometimes multiple approval layers have slowed rollout, which makes it difficult to meet timelines despite our commitment. But we are working through the system and trying to get acceleration here. And then the last thing is sometimes there is vandalism of infrastructure, which impacts quality of service for our customers. So we're trying to work a lot with the communities, but we would also benefit from security support to ensure that this critical infrastructure. In fact, we are motivating that telecom infrastructure should be considered as almost like as for state security protection, right? And I think especially as we go into this election season is one of the things that we are also picking up with our Ministry of ICT. So for us, what we are asking is to help us streamline approvals, review the current rental frameworks to enable us provide a more sustainable environment for digital infrastructure investment. Also aligned regulation to help us balance the ecosystem protection, which is important and which we actively support, but also at the same time also providing the access for connectivity. And then also, as I've said, integrate telecom infrastructure into national projects, the same way we treat roads, airports, energy. We also do the same for telecom infrastructure, considering them critical, so that every corridor that we are developing from a physical perspective, as you put up the airport, as you put up the road, you're also thinking about what is the digital highway that we're also building for the customers that we're giving access. So for us, our commitment remains. Even as I look forward to an airstrip being built here in Fort Portal, I come here like once or twice a month, and the roads are a beautiful challenge that we must take up and fix, because actually the Fort Portal is one of our key markets, even from a revenue perspective. I think also as we focus on that, we must also make sure that that digital connectivity provides the last mile for customers in terms of delivering to the heart of the experience. And I think with the greater collaboration, we've already done a lot, so I'm grateful for the progress that we have made in the last 2 to 3 years, a lot of which we have also unlocked during this CEO forum. But to be able to get the target that we've been given of growing this economy 10x, we must do a lot more in terms of ensuring that we provide a lot more accessibility, that also makes us a lot more globally competitive, and ensures that we provide a truly unstoppable experience for all our customers and tourists who visit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Madam Sylvia. You've heard it from MTN. Again, a lot of conversations are coming back over and over. There was a question with the top CEOs which said, if MTN is coming us to help us get connectivity, we want to give Ugandans a better experience. What is the benefit cost analysis of the 12,000 or 5,000 costs that we are charging them, which might be limiting their ability to invest where we need it? So that's a food for thought for everyone here. And thank you very much for all the feedback. If you give me a few seconds, I would like to give the microphone back to Madame Olivia Lumonya. She has, Madame Olive Lumonya, she has some insights to all the feedback that has been
Thank you
discussed.
very much, and I want to thank you once again for the feedback you've given us. The need to improve service delivery, customer service experience at the airport. Those are the initiatives that we are taking on. And I believe in the next few months, you'll see some change of people grounded at the airport just to make work easy for you. We are trying to address the issues of baggage handling. I think many of you have seen how long it takes to process a bag. We have brought in a new baggage handling system, which is going to be set up. And as we open the new terminal building, you will see that also as a change. But I want to raise one issue that we as lovers of Uganda, we need Ubuntu. Because the aviation industry is highly regulated. The regulations are not in Uganda. It's assumed that globally, whoever is flying in that aircraft may not be a Ugandan. So the rules and regulations are set up under ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. So you'll notice that one item will become a social media, and within 5 minutes, it has become global. But you'll find another country where we know the issues that are going on, everybody's on Ubuntu as the issue is being resolved. I'll give you one example. I think many of you have seen, where I say highly regulated, a country within our region, I think recently some of you have seen, they've been banned from flying into Europe. That means all the Schengen countries, all of them, they cannot fly there. But they were banned before even they flew there for the first time. What did they do wrong? They filled in these forms, the application forms like we did for Uganda Airlines to the UK, and somehow thought it's a business as usual, submitted the application, did not follow procedure. The aviation didn't have, there are certain questions we ask when I look at that application, and I'll tell Jennifer it needs to be redone, because the mind the other side is protecting everybody who flies in that country. So what has happened before the application? They've been banned for 5 years. Negotiations are going on, and nothing seems to be done. You remember when they said Uganda Airlines has delayed to go to the UK, and I recall when the president said, have you failed to just fill in one application? So when we got an opportunity with the British High Commissioner, and we were going to brief the president, I said, this is what it takes. It took us time, because if you are not thorough, you will not get there. So I want to commit that on the side of Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, we have noted there's no way you'll talk about tourism internationally without CAA. The airport, I mean, it's the trigger, is the inroad. So we are committed, and we'll do that. At the moment, we have 18 internationally approved airlines that fly in. We have about 20, Uganda. Last year alone, we've brought in 4 airlines that are flying in. So we'll continue opening opportunities for airlines to come in. But on our side, we need to drive the domestic tourism. Like what my brother Bomboya said, we need land. I think what he also said from MAF, we need land to create the airstrips that can allow you to land. That way people will fly into Uganda and come into the area. So I want to thank you once again for inviting us to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Before we conclude, my feedback for Uganda Airlines is very personal. When I travel in Uganda Airlines, the first time I traveled, I went to Nairobi, and when I was landing back, they were singing, Wololo, Wololo. I felt like crying. You don't play that song anymore, please bring it back. On the CRJs, because when I was coming from the UK, I landed and I didn't hear it. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you very much. And let's thank all the panelists that have discussed with us. I think in the interest of time, a lot of what I'm saying has been discussed. If you have questions, we can take them, but not now. We are going to go for lunch. Thank you very much to my panelists, and thanks for your participation. A picture.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Of course, we'll have a picture moment. I'll also take the opportunity to recognize and welcome Mr. Matthias Katamba, a board member at PCF. You're welcome. May I request the board to join in this picture, as well as the permanent secretary. So as they take the picture, I also
Some of the things that I've been grappling with has been really community buy-in. You find that most of the attractions that we have, products we want to develop, tangible products, are in community sites. There's ownership by the community, by individuals. And when you bring up this idea of want to develop this place, then now you're faced with the issues of this is an opportunity that I can benefit from in the short run. Then it raises the costs of development of this product. So you have to now go into those kinds of battles. It goes past thinking about what are the future generations going to see about this heritage or this site, the preservation of it, and more into how do I benefit from it now? Can I make some money out of it now? In the 6th bar, actually, in the retreat, I want to see conversations around how do we bind these communities? How do they feel like they're a part of something that is forever? So that with that, they'll be able to be willing to have the conversation of what alternatives can we give them for sustenance. The other commitment that I would really want to see come out very strongly is, okay, so we have now developed these areas. How does the private sector come in? Because we know that they are the drivers of tourism. So they are the actors who are out there. They're selling this country, they're doing all this. So then how do they come in as well to push out this voice for this product that we have developed? From that, have more and more people come in because they're a very strong sector for us. How do they come in to boost this product to a much bigger level? Anyone watching me, I just wanted to let you know that in September, the PCF, that's the Presidential CEO Forum, is organizing in partnership with Ministry of Tourism the 6th biannual retreat, which is on tourism. And I just hope that we'll use this opportunity to listen in, learn, and most importantly, take off time to explore our beautiful country. Go check out the sceneries. I mean, most of you have done the drives as you go to your homes, villages, but take off time to visit the attractions that we have, the parks, the heritage sites, and just enjoy the country as we look forward to transforming Uganda into a preferred tourism destination.
Tourism in Uganda is actually performing very well. For example, in 2024, Uganda experienced a very strong performance in tourism. I'll give you an example that in 2024, for example, Uganda welcomed about 1,374,000 people, tourists in the country, and this earned the country about 1.28 billion US dollars. This makes tourism one of the top foreign exchange earners for the country. There was a record increase or growth in new markets. For example, Bangladesh, Canada, China, which were not our primary markets of focus, but now we are seeing strong growth in these areas. So with such huge numbers that we are having, we know that with product diversification and market diversification, we shall be able to sustainably grow tourism in Uganda. Accurate and timely tourism data is very critical in a way that it reduces uncertainty. You are sure about what you are talking about. So if it's tourism statistics and you are talking about accurate data, you are sure about the numbers you are talking about. You are sure about where to invest. You are sure about where to investments can be guided. It increases confidence of investors, because they are able to understand where demand is growing. For example, tourism is actually made up of about 10 industries: accommodation, food and beverage, transport, sports and recreation, cultural industry, and many others. But with accurate data, you are able to know which of these industries is actually having more demand. For example, a typical tourist spends at least 9 days in Uganda and spends about $2,114. That's a leisure tourist. That's almost about 8 million Ugandan shillings coming into the economy. And therefore, if you are an investor and you know that you have this kind of data on your tips, you're able to know that if I invest in a food industry or accommodation or transport business, I'm able to tap on this 8 million Ugandan shillings that is coming from every tourist.
I'm on the technical committee, which is a good opportunity to engage with the sector and especially also to ensure that our sector becomes competitive. I think one of the challenges we have had as a country, Uganda, is that we have a lot in terms of resources, biodiversity, in terms of all these other attractions, but then tourism is not yet fully developed. And I think that's why having the sector stakeholders come and talk about this is very important, and it's a great contribution that we can make. As people who have been in research and in the education and academia world, we actually find that we have a contribution to make, which in most cases there has not been that great link. So we need stronger links between the education institutions and the sector and also the policymakers. Tourism as a sector is always changing. Customer preferences, there are interventions that are coming in, there are interruptions, the COVID coming in. So you need that arm of research to inform how the sector can be able to cope up with the changes that are happening. More importantly also, we need research to get to know new products and experiences that can come on board. For a very long time, most of our effort in tourism has been restricted to wildlife and the rest. But we know that Uganda can offer a lot more than wildlife. Recently, we have been working with the Petroleum Authority. We're talking about geotourism, looking at the geology, the minerals, the landscapes. So it means all this comes out of research. So yes, research plays a very big role in driving decisions. You're talking about informed decisions being taken from research. One of the things I would like to see coming out of this committee is research prioritized as one of the drivers, and prioritized means being given more attention, being given more funding, because research takes funding, being given more institutional support. For example, our neighbors in Kenya, they have a government agency called the Tourism Research Institute. So they have got the research and given it attention and giving it more resources and recognition to drive the sector. And I would also like to see more stakeholders taking up research as one of their inputs that they use in decision making. I'm on the technical committee, which is a good opportunity to engage with the sector and especially also to ensure that our sector becomes competitive. I think one of the challenges we have had as a country, Uganda, is that we have a lot in terms of resources, biodiversity, in terms of all these other attractions, but then tourism is not yet fully developed. And I think that's why having the sector stakeholders come and talk about this is very important, and it's a great contribution that we can make. As people who have been in research and in the education and academia world, we actually find that we have a contribution to make, which in most cases there has not been that great link. So we need stronger links between the education institutions and the sector and also the policymakers. Tourism as a sector is always changing. Customer preferences, there are interventions that are coming in, there are interruptions, the COVID coming in. So you need that arm of research to inform how the sector can be able to cope up with the changes that are happening. More importantly also, we need research to get to know new products and experiences that can come on board. For a very long time, most of our effort in tourism has been restricted to wildlife and the rest. But we know that Uganda can offer a lot more than wildlife. Recently, we have been working with the Petroleum Authority. We're talking about geotourism, looking at the geology, the minerals, the landscapes. So it means all this comes out of research. So yes, research plays a very big role in driving decisions. You're talking about informed decisions being taken from research. One of the things I would like to see coming out of this committee is research prioritized as one of the drivers, and prioritized means being given more attention, being given more funding, because research takes funding, being given more institutional support. For example, our neighbors in Kenya, they have a government agency called the Tourism Research Institute. So they have got the research and given it attention and giving it more resources and recognition to drive the sector. And I would also like to see more stakeholders taking up research as one of their inputs that they use in decision making. I'm on the technical committee, which is a good opportunity to engage with the sector and especially also to ensure that our sector becomes competitive. I think one of the challenges we have had as a country, Uganda, is that we have a lot in terms of resources, biodiversity, in terms of all these other attractions, but then tourism is not yet fully developed. And I think that's why having the sector stakeholders come and talk about this is very important, and it's a great contribution that we can make. As people who have been in research and in the education and academia world, we actually find that we have a contribution to make, which in most cases there has not been that great link. So we need stronger links between the education institutions and the sector, and also the policymakers. Tourism as a sector is always changing. Customer preferences, there are interventions that are coming in, there are interruptions, the COVID coming in. So you need that arm of research to inform how the sector can be able to cope up with the changes that are happening. More importantly also, we need research to get to know new products and experiences that can come on board. For a very long time, most of our effort in tourism has been restricted to wildlife and the rest. But we know that Uganda can offer a lot more than wildlife. Recently, we have been working with the Petroleum Authority. We're talking about geotourism, looking at the geology, the minerals, the landscapes. So it means all this comes out of research. So yes, research plays a very big role in driving decisions. You're talking about informed decisions being taken from research. One of the things I would like to see coming out of this committee is research prioritized as one of the drivers, and prioritized means being given more attention, being given more funding, because research takes funding, being given more institutional support. For example, our neighbors in Kenya, they have a government agency called the Tourism Research Institute. So they have got the research and given it attention and giving it more resources and recognition to drive the sector. And I would also like to see more stakeholders taking up research as one of their inputs that they use in decision making. I'm on the technical committee, which is a good opportunity to engage with the sector and especially also to ensure that our sector becomes competitive. I think one of the challenges we have had as a country, Uganda, is that we have a lot in terms of resources, biodiversity, in terms of all these other attractions, but then tourism is not yet fully developed. And I think that's why having the sector stakeholders come and talk about this is very important, and it's a great contribution that we can make. As people who have been in research and in the education and academia world, we actually find that we have a contribution to make, which in most cases there has not been that great link. So we need stronger links between the education institutions and the sector, and also the policymakers. Tourism as a sector is always changing. Customer preferences, there are interventions that are coming in, there are interruptions, the COVID coming in. So you need that arm of research to inform how the sector can be able to cope up with the changes that are happening. More importantly also, we need research to get to know new products and experiences that can come on board. For a very long time, most of our effort in tourism has been restricted to wildlife and the rest. But we know that Uganda can offer a lot more than wildlife. Recently, we have been working with the Petroleum Authority. We're talking about geotourism, looking at the geology, the minerals, the landscapes. So it means all this comes out of research. So yes, research plays a very big role in driving decisions. You're talking about informed decisions being taken from research. One of the things I would like to see coming out of this committee is research prioritized as one of the drivers, and prioritized means being given more attention, being given more funding, because research takes funding, being given more institutional support. For example, our neighbors in Kenya, they have a government agency called the Tourism Research Institute. So they have got the research and given it attention and giving it more resources and recognition to drive the sector. And I would also like to see more stakeholders taking up research as one of their inputs that they use in decision making.
What I would want to see is that we need to move together. An example is Uganda Airlines. As a Uganda Tourism Board, we've put in a lot of resources to support Uganda Airlines to move together, as well as resources in support of the upcoming CAF in Uganda. So we'd want to see coordination of the different sectors. Every ministry, department, look at their roles in terms of tourism. If they're looking at it in terms of events that they can host, meetings and conferences, if every ministry is able to say, you know what, they'll have 2 conferences a year, or different parastatal bodies will be able to bring in conferences to this country, that would as well bring in the business travelers, would bring in the conferences. And then if we could all look at tourism as ambassadors, because tourism also unites us all. Therefore, would want to see togetherness going forward, ministries working together, different arms of government working together for the agenda of Uganda, the agenda of bringing more tourists to this country, thereby increasing jobs, increasing employment, and improving our GDP. Tourism right now is taking a key center stage in terms of the government planning and policies, especially policy formulation. So what I would say is that there could never be a better time. We need to rally the forces together of private sector, of government, come together and be able to put our country at the forefront. Like I said earlier on, we've got a good opportunity. We do not have over-tourism in this country. We've got over 56 tribes and more dialects of people, so we're rich in culture, rich in biodiversity, and we could not have a better time. So we're very, very grateful to, of course, His Excellency and the rest of the planning team to see that tourism is getting a center focus this time around, and we cannot wait. And therefore I'd want to rally the entire tourism fraternity to come together and be a force and make this a very memorable retreat. My role is really to represent the private sector on the committee, and also to ensure that there's a very good connection of the dots between private sector, their interests. The opportunities are immense. Uganda is at a wonderful crossroads. Well, Uganda has previously been considered as a little overpriced destination in comparison to the other destinations. Recent trends have also told us that there's a big concern in over-tourism. So Uganda stands at an advantage because we do not have over-tourism here. And it's at a vantage point as well because travelers all over the world, or coming especially into Africa, have explored the more known destinations, especially in Southern Africa, as well as in East Africa. So Uganda is like this Eden that has not yet been discovered, that has not yet been known. So we are at a very critical point where, you know, we need to ensure that we have the right infrastructure, the right policies, which many have been put in place, and to see that the dots are all connected to ensure that travelers that are now seeking for these unique bespoke destinations are able to choose Uganda first. Tourism is an industry that is a long haul. It's not a short term. We've had a few interactions that I've had with some new entrants. They'll think that, you know, we'll come in, make a buck and go away. And tourism is I would say, a medium-term to long-term investment. You've got to stick in there. You've got to have the right values. So the right values of integrity, of honesty, you know, very important and very foundational to the entire chain, because it's also an industry of trust. You know, someone trusts what you're saying, trusts what the message you're giving them, the destination. They'll blindly trust before they'll come.
Welcome to our new office. Wonderful sight. Just imagine 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the parking is, and then the warehouse front door here, the reception here, and the fridges here. The lorry's entrance there, and their exit there. One way only. What is it?
So where is the building?
Fast, stress-free construction. Order yours now. Soft Build, a quality building solution from Uganda Bati.
My good.
This is for the timeless, the trailblazers, and the trendsetters. Those with a pioneering spirit and an uncompromising lifestyle. This is for those that have called time out on that clay tile roof. Those who are ready to say out with the old, in with the new. Their taste is bold, stylish, and elegant. This is for the dream home, the dream come true, and being true to your lifestyle. And this is Lifestyle, a premium stone-coated roof tile for those bold enough to redefine premium.
Lifestyle is made with world-class technology to resist fungi and fading. Lifestyle is available in shingle, Roman, and wave profiles.
Lifestyle is the premium stone-coated roof tile from Uganda, Bati.
This is for the timeless, the trailblazers, and the trendsetters. Those with a pioneering spirit and an uncompromising lifestyle. This is for those that have called time out on that clay tile roof. Those who are ready to say out with the old, in with the new. Their taste is bold, stylish, and elegant. This is for the dream home, the dream come true, and being true to your lifestyle. And this is Lifestyle, a premium stone-coated roof tile for those bold enough to redefine premium.
Lifestyle is made with world-class technology to resist fungi and fading. Lifestyle is available in shingle, Roman, and wave profiles.
Lifestyle is the premium stone-coated roof tile from Uganda, Bati.
Office. Wonderful sight. Just imagine 1, 2, 3, 4. Ha. This is where the parking is, and then the warehouse front door here, the reception here, and the fridges here. The lorry's entrance there, and their exit there. One way only. What is it?
So where is the building?
Fast, stress-free construction. Order yours now. Soft Build, a quality building solution.